Hi girls, we've just released the Sign Up Genius, so you can sign up for a video to make for an activity at Twilight Camp. What we're looking for is something very simple, a 3 to 5 minute video depending on the activity. You're going to show the girls where to find the worksheet in the workbook, or actually just that the worksheet exists. Maybe demonstrate part of the activity. If it's something like a craft, you can actually sit there and do it. They can follow along, or you've watched videos on YouTube. Sometimes it's fun to watch somebody do something like doing a craft or doing a painting. If it's an outdoor activity or an active activity, you might take a phone or have someone hold one for you, go outside, demonstrate the activity, and just really encourage the girls to have a good time while they do it. A lot of times I think our delivery of these things is more important than the activity itself. When I ask a high school girl, what was your favorite subject in high school? They often respond not based on the subject, but based on the teacher. I really liked social studies, and when I ask why, it's not because they're passionate about politics or socioeconomic institutions. They really liked Mrs. Johnson, the social studies teacher. So we've got the same opportunity, just to have fun. Don't stress about this. This is really easy. Just do something very basic and simple. Look at the camera as you do it and encourage the girls as you go. So I'm going to do just a silly example to give you a couple of tips. I'm using actually 2 cameras. I've got a webcam hooked up just so you can see kind of my work area, and then I'm actually going to be using my phone to record my activity. This is actually probably the hardest part, is just keeping yourself in frame, especially if you're talking and then pointing down to your hands and then coming back up. So if you can get a parent or a sibling to assist you, that's great. In this case, I've got a little tripod for my phone. I'm just going to point it down to kind of this area of the desk. This is where I'm going to be working, and I'll be looking at it or just talking to the girls. It's okay if they don't see us all the time, just as we go through. A couple other things I did to set up my area. I've got just a piece of notebook paper here with a couple of things to remember to tell when I start. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to tell the girls there's a worksheet in the packet they can pull out, tell them any supplies that they need to get out of the activity kit or they need themselves, and then just kind of get going and encourage them. And I made a little smile face to myself to remember myself to smile, so I'm not staring at people with like my dad frown as we go through. So let's get started. So we're going to pretend I'm doing this for real with my activity. I'll start right here. Ready? Hi girls, my name's Nick. I'm a volunteer with Twilight Camp, and I'm really excited about this next activity. It's called a Kleenex parachute. Have you ever been in like a doctor's office or in a waiting room or at the airport and you're just bored and there's nothing to do? Well, there's almost always a Kleenex somewhere, and I'm going to show you how to make a parachute with it. It's really silly, it's kind of fun, and it's a good way to spend a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is get a few supplies. First of all, you're going to need, out of the activity packet, you can leave it in the packet, you don't have to tear it out, but you're going to need the sheet that says Kleenex parachute instructions, and you can follow along as I go through that. And then secondly, you're going to need a Kleenex, and I'm going to use a little bit of water in part of this, and so I've got a little cup of water set off to the side. The first thing we're going to do, and if you follow the first step in the instructions, is you're going to take a Kleenex out of the packet. Now most Kleenexes are what's called 2-ply, which means they're actually 2 little pieces of tissue that are kind of pushed next to each other. So what I'm going to do is very carefully separate these out. And the way I did that is I just pulled on one of the corners until it came apart. If you accidentally tear this the first time, that's okay. Don't get discouraged. Just try it again. Get another Kleenex. If you're on your 5th one and you still haven't gotten it, go ask an older sibling or an adult for help. But part of Girl Scouts is just trying things until we get it and learning as we go. So I've got my 2 sheets of Kleenex now pulled apart. I'm going to take one of those and just set it to the side for a second. And the second one, I'm going to tear into 4 equal lengths. This is going to be the strings for my parachute. Now the easy way to do this with a Kleenex, remember all things like Kleenexes, napkins, and paper towels are actually made out of wood fiber. And so I'm going to fold this and then just run my finger along the fold to make a crease. Doesn't have to be perfect, and it's okay if these are not exact. All I need is 4 strips. But since I made that crease, if I very carefully pull this apart, the Kleenex is actually going to start to tear along that crease. Great. And now I'm going to do this 2 more times. So I'm going to fold the second half You can follow along with me too if you want. And I'm gonna tear that. Great. And if you get frustrated or have trouble, just take a break and try again. This should be fun. It took me a few times to do this before I got good at it. And I find a lot of things that you do, you just have to practice it until you get to it. Great. And so I'm folding these. Great. And now I've got 4 equal strips from that original half of the Kleenex. This is going to be my rope for the parachute and the little weight or man at the bottom. And then the other sheet, which I haven't touched yet, that's going to be the fabric of the parachute itself. For our next step, we need to twist these up so they're a little bit more rope-like. So what I'm going to do is take the piece of Kleenex and just twist it a little bit. I'm leaving kind of like a little triangle at the end, and then I'm just going to twist the rest of it almost so it's like a rope. So it's almost like a weird big bow with like 2 little triangle pieces out at the end of it. The reason I'm leaving those 2 is we're going to use those to attach this to the rest of the Kleenex. So I'm going to go ahead and do that 3 more times. And again, I did this a few times to practice for the video, so I've got it down reasonably well. If you have trouble getting the little twist to stay, just try and twist it a few more times to make it tighter. And you can see how I'm almost just twirling mine around and around, and then as I'm going, it's turning into almost a little bit of rope with a little fluff of Kleenex at the end. All right, I think I'm almost done for my last one. And I think this is something fun to do on a rainy day. I like to play outside, but if I have to stay inside, I think it's fun to make things. Okay, so now I've got my 4 strips. I'm about ready to begin attaching these to the fabric of our parachute. Now this gets a little bit tricky because what I'm going to do is use a little bit of water, and I'm going to kind of mush one end of my little rope piece to one corner of the parachute. I've got a tiny little cup of water. You can use any just cup. I would, a damp paper towel would work. I don't think I would go running back and forth to the sink because that'll just take too long. But what I'm going to do is just use that to just kind of mush the Kleenex together, just like that. And this isn't, waterproof, hurricane proof. It's just enough to hold together while we do the craft. If you have trouble with it, you get a little bit more water and just squish it together a little bit more. I've actually seen people do this, like using spit. Ew, I'm going to use a little water, especially since we're recording this in the middle of a pandemic. And so I'm just putting a drop of water on each corner, mushing it down just enough so my little rope piece sticks to that corner. Great. And I'm kind of flicking it away so I don't get too much because I don't want it to get too wet. Okay, let me pick up the camera for a second so you can kind of see this from the top. So now I have kind of a Kleenex with 4 weird little pieces of rope sticking off of it. And we're going to bring those 4 weird little pieces of rope together. So I'm just grabbing the ends of each and pulling them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to do the same wetting and mushing that we did a minute ago, this time with all at the top. So I've just got about 2 drops of water on my finger. If that wasn't quite enough, I can get a couple more. Don't dip it in the water. I tried that once and it just got super mushy and it didn't work at all. Okay, let's do one more. Almost there. And you can kind of roll it up. It's going to come apart. Again, this is not a birthday present you would give your best friend. This is just something silly that you can do with a Kleenex. Okay, and there's my parachute. So let's try it and see how it works. Now here I'm done with the, kind of at the desk part. I'm going to pick my camera up and move back. And so at this point, if you are carrying a phone around or something, just make sure you're holding it well. Don't drop the thing. I don't need trouble for that. Okay, so now I've got my Kleenex. Let me twist my camera up so you can see my amazing demonstration to the Girl Scouts that are watching on the phone. We're going to try and see if it works. Ooh. All right, that was actually pretty good. So if you want to have a little bit more fun and you've got permission to do this, you could climb up onto maybe a ladder or up to the top of the stairs as high as you can, be safe, drop it, see if it floats. That is how I make a parachute out of a Kleenex. Next time you're waiting in the doctor's office or just have some time to kill, try that out, see what you can do. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Girls, thanks so much for watching this. If you enjoyed it and you actually make one of these, please share your photos. I love to see what it looks like, especially if you have a chance to take it outside. Thanks for watching. Bye. All right. So that was my video. Nothing too fancy. You also notice I misspoke a couple of times, but I kind of just did that in one take. Do not start, make a mistake, and start over. Just say oops and keep going, because if you keep starting over, you will never get this done and it will just crank up your anxiety. So this just has to be good enough. Remember, these are like little kids watching in the living room. No one is going to see this outside of Twilight Camp. It's not going on the news. We're keeping all the links private. The video's private, so it's not going on any social media feed or anything like that. At least the videos aren't. So yeah, so just don't stress about it. It should be pretty fun. Now, last thing, once you're done, so you may have recorded this with a computer and a webcam. You might have recorded it with your phone. Somehow you've got to get the video to me. And what I'm going to do, what core staff is going to do, is we're going to release these, a few each day, and sort of encourage people to work on certain activities on certain days of camp. The other thing that we have going on right now is all of our supplies are currently on their way in to either New Brighton or Chanhassen. So when you sign up for one of these activities in the Sign Up Genius, I will work with you offline, I'll probably text you or email your parents to get you the specific activity supplies that you need to complete that activity, or ask if you have something you can use. For example, there's 2 activities that use sidewalk chalk that's being shipped in right now, I think from Amazon. And so I might say, hey, do you have any sidewalk chalk? Why don't you just go outside and do this one as best you can. And then the other thing that you can do is once you got the video done, I need it somehow. So you cannot send it to me, unfortunately, on something like Snapchat or Instagram or even Facebook, because I need to get the actual video file. We're going to do a little bit of editing and put a logo on it before we upload it. So you can upload it to YouTube and just mark it as unlisted and send me a link. You can upload it to any file sharing service like OneDrive or Box, Dropbox, Google Drive. Send me a link to that. Or if you go to fileinbox.com/twilight, let me show you what that looks like. So if I go to fileinbox.com/twilight, see where it says upload your video? So go ahead, you're going to click upload, navigate out to your camera roll, and upload it. And if possible, do this while you're on Wi-Fi, just in case you have a long video file. If none of those work, that's okay. Just email or text me and we will figure something out. I've got a lot of technology we can use to figure out how to get that turned in. I'd love to have all the videos turned in by like July 11th. So we've got a couple of weeks to crank these out. Again, they don't have to be perfect. I'll make them look nice, and put the Twilight Camp logo as like a bumper and that kind of stuff, and then we'll release them. So thank you so much for doing this. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm really excited about this. I think giving these girls a chance to see some of us older campers, older girls, caddies, and volunteers in the middle of camp, it's going to help bridge their Girl Scout experience from last spring into the fall. And I'm also hopeful it'll be a nice distraction in the middle of the summer while everyone's kind of still doing a lot of activities at home. Thanks for watching, and I will see you virtually at Twilight Camp.